going to be talking about the Cadette Primitive Camper Badge. Step number 4, learning some knots as well as lashing. So I'm going to give people a couple minutes to kind of arrive, but what you're going to need is some sticks or some pencils, knitting needles, broom handles, whatever you have that you can tie stuff to, as well as some string, rope if you have it, yarn, whatever you have just to tie some knots. So while we're kind of waiting for people to grab some stuff, I just want to go over the other parts of the Primitive Camper Badge that you could easily do from home. Step 1 is merely to talk to somebody who's a camping expert. So if you have a friend or your parents know somebody who likes to go camping and they have a lot of knowledge, right now would be a great time to call them up and learn a little bit more about their skills and kind of any tips and tricks that they have. Step 2 is to prepare your gear and kind of talk about either how to weatherproof it, kind of do a pair and share with all of your gear, so a show and tell of what you have, or to practice layering. So this could be a fun troop, maybe Facebook Live or Skype chat where you guys gather all your gear and share what different camping gear you have, because everybody likes to learn about what everybody else's cool stuff is. And step 3 is to make a camp meal at home. So you could do a couple different things. One, you can make a dehydrated meal. So if you have any sort of like backpackers pantry stuff hanging around, you can try making that. Or you can make a meal from a nomadic tribe. So that's something you could look up and kind of raid your pantry and see what you have. Or step 3 is to make 2 meals using a camp stove. So I hope everybody has gathered their stuff. Again, we're doing some knots and some lashing. So all you'll need are some ropes as well as some sticks. So before we get started with the actual knots, I just want to take some time to talk about the different parts of the rope. So when you're working with the rope, you have the standing end. So that's the end I just kind of dropped on the ground. This is the part that we're not going to be working with. This is our working end. So this is the part that will actually be tying our knots. If I ask you to make a bite, that's just folding the rope in half like this. And then with this, the next step is going to be your loop. So there's 2 types of loops. There's the overhand loop, so that's when your working end is going over your standing end. So your overhand loop, to you it looks like an underhand. And then your underhand loop is when you take your working end and it goes under your standing end. Perfect. So for the next exercise, we're going to go ahead and show a couple of the important knots that you're going to need to use before we start lashing. When you're doing lashing, you typically wouldn't use a climbing rope, but since I'm trying to show you guys so you can see what's happening, I'm going to use this. But if you guys have paracord or anything else, that would work a little bit better for your needs. So first, we're going to head over to this tree and we're going to do a clove hitch. So with your clove hitch, you're going to go around and you're going to kind of make this X. So we went around one time, we've made this X right here. We're going to come back around and we're going to go right through the middle of it. Okay, so this is your clove hitch. Perfect. So if you guys want to practice that a couple times, you can do that. And if you ever have any problems with any of the knots that we're tying, I encourage you to go ahead and jump onto animatedknots.com where they do like a step-by-step freeze frame of how to tie the knots. So that was our clove hitch, and we're mostly going to be using that, but it's also good to know a couple other knots. So your half hitch is just going around whatever you're using as your stick or your tree, going over, making like a 4 and coming up through the middle. If you ever do friendship bracelets or macrame, that's what you're doing. So you got a 4 coming up the middle. So this is just making some half hitches. Right there. Perfect. And then the last knot that we're going to be using is our timber hitch. So to make your timber hitch, you're going to go around the tree. You're going to go up, over, and under. So you get something like that. And then you're going to make a couple little rounds around the rope itself, because this is going to make some friction points. So do about 3, and then when you pull I did it the opposite way, but like that, but different. It's okay to try again. There we go. So I'll just fix it really quick. So you got your timber hitch. Go ahead. So now that we have our knots, we're gonna go ahead and practice some lashing. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're going to do square lashing. So square lashing is when you're lashing something together at 90-degree angles. So just like this. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna get a piece of string and you're going to tie a clove hitch onto your stick. And it should be kind of at the bottom of where you're gonna put your other stick. So you've got it right here, and you're just gonna go over, behind, over, behind. So you're gonna do this 3 or 4 times. Oh, I can't find it. Over, behind, over, behind, okay. Over, behind. So once you've got 3 or 4 of these, you're gonna do what's called a frapping turn. So this is kind of still wiggly right now. The frapping turn, it's really gonna be what holds this all together. So you can kind of get this angle in between the rope, or in between the sticks. I'm just gonna take my rope and go in between the sticks 3 or so times, pull it nice and tight, and then you can tie it off with a clove hitch. And then you just tie it off with your clove hitch. It should be a little bit more stable. So this is a great piece to use if you're making like a chair or a table. It makes a really good kind of base. You could also make a ladder. Just be creative with what you're doing. You got it? So again, this was square lashing. So the next one that we're gonna do is diagonal lashing. So this is gonna be when you are attaching something like this on a 45-degree angle. So this wouldn't be a super great base, but it would be a really good kind of a support structure because triangles are really, really strong, a good bracing. So what you're gonna do with this one is, you might need a buddy to hold it, but that's okay. In between the two, you're going to make your timber hitch. Or you could also there we go. So you've got our timber hitch. And then you're just gonna go kind of around on this axis 3 or 4 times. Like that. And then once you've done 3 or 4 times on that axis, we're gonna go ahead and go up and down. Another 3 or 4 times. And then once you've done that, we're gonna do those frapping turns again. So we're going to go in between the two sticks 3 or 4 times, and we're just going to pull it nice and tight together. And then again, we'll just finish off with our clove hitch, or you could do a couple half hitches. Come on, little string. There you go. Okay, so that is our diagonal lashing. Next, we're going to do some shear lashing. So what that's going to do is that's going to allow us to make like an A-frame. So we're going to tie it together like this, and then we'll be able to spread it apart like a pair of shears, like scissors, or into an E-frame. This one is pretty simple. All you're going to do is start off with our friend the clove hitch. Right here. And there we're just going to wrap around these 2 sticks about 4 times. 2, 3, 4. I'm going to give it 1 more because it looks a little crazy. Okay. And then you can kind of squish them together. And then we're going to do our frapping turns in between. We're just going to go 1, 2, 3. Right in between there, make sure it's nice and strong. Tie it off with our friend the clove hitch again. And this would allow you to make kind of an A-frame. And those of you that are on right now, I'm not able to check the questions right now, but once I get back, when I'm done with this, I'll be able to check those for you. Oops. So our next one is a fan favorite. This is your tripod lashing. So what we're gonna do is start off with the clove hitch. So we've got our clove hitch, and then we're just going to alternate got our clove hitch. And so we're just going to alternate going over and under. So I can find the rope. There we go. So we go under, over, and then we're going to go back around. Make sure to get this nice and tight. So behind that one, going to go in front, behind, wrap around, I'm in front of that one, so now I'm going behind this one. And just do this again 3 or 4 times. And just alternate which direction you go. Once you've done that a couple times, you're just going to do your frapping turns. So you're gonna go in between each one and go around 3 or 4 times like we've been doing. Nice and tight. Then we're gonna go in between this one. Couple times, and you can either close off with a square knot tying onto this one, or we can do our clove hitch again. So once we get our clove hitch done, okay, we can go ahead and kind of spread the tripod out. So you want to be really careful that you're not just going like this with it, because it's going to fall over. You need to kind of tuck this first one in between one of the other ones so it doesn't completely kind of collapse on you. So here's your tripod. This is a really good start to, if you want to do some cooking, you can hang your pot up here. You can also make some really nice shelters with this. So tripod lashing. And again, if you have any questions, I'll check the comments in a little bit, or if you're not sure about any of the knots, check out animatedknots.com, and it will have a lot of really nice step-by-step instructions on how to tie the knots.
There were a lot of requests on the chat to show the knots again. Would you like to do that?
What?
Tying the knots on the tree?
Oh yeah, I'll go ahead and find my big rope again. So again, just practicing those knots that we needed earlier. So we've got our clove hitch. So you just kind of, I'll go a little bit slower. So I'll start here. I'm kind of going in around, and then I've made this kind of X, and so I'll just leave my finger right here kind of between the east and west kind of quadrants, and then I'm just going to stick the rope between those quadrants again. So that is your clove hitch. And then for our half hitch, we're just going around the tree, kind of making a 4 and going up through the middle. So you can make a 4 and go up the middle for those half hitches. You can also go the opposite way, and that will kind of create a little bit more security. What else did we do? Oh, the timber hitch. Okay, so the timber hitch, we're gonna go around. Gonna go right here. So we've kind of made a loop, and then we're gonna make 1, 2, 3 kind of loops on itself, and then it kind of pulls tightly. I'm gonna go ahead and untie that. Any other questions on the chat?
As far as I can see, none.
Okay, awesome. So now that you kind of know a little bit about lashing and how to tie those knots, I encourage you to, if you have a nice big backyard, you can go out and build some cool shelters and stuff like we have in our backyard. Or this is a great time to make some super awesome pillow forts at your house. So you can practice some of your lashing skills in the comfort of your own home or in your backyard. And again, this was step 4 of the primitive camper badge. So step 5 is actually going camping and making a primitive shelter. So that will kind of take care of your step 5. For steps 1 through 3, it's really easy kind of to do those at home. So step 1 could just be chatting with somebody who knows a lot about camping. You could maybe even call up a gear store and see if they would kind of talk to you a little bit, either on the phone or maybe on a video chat. Sorry, sneeze, about some cool gear that they have, or check out REI expert advice videos. Those are always super cool. The second step was kind of doing a gear pool. So that could be another cool one to do with your whole troop. You guys could all kind of get out all your camping and outdoorsy gear and kind of show it and pair and share with each other. And then the third step that you can do at home is cooking something. So you could either do one of the nice freeze-dried meals. You could research something from a nomadic tribe and cook that, or you can cook 2 meals on a camp stove.
Now, there's a couple questions that have just popped up in the chat.
Okay.
One, some folks are having some trouble with the clove hitch. Can we do the clove hitch one more time,
Yes.
very slowly?
Yes. Okay. So I'm starting off with the clove hitch, kind of going around here. I feel like this might be better from this side. So I'm making an X right here, and then it continues to go around, and it's gonna go, oops. So we've got our X, and then it's gonna go right here. So if this is north, south, east, west, it's going between east and west. So I'll try to do it again real slow. So it's kind of going around, making an X. I'll try to make it a little bit more exaggerated. And then going between east, or west to east, right there. So then once you kind of squish it together, you'll have an X on one side, but go ahead and show the back, because the back is just gonna look like 2 straight lines.
Excellent. What was the website you were recommending?
Animatedknots.com. It's super awesome. There's a whole bunch of camping knots, there's sailing knots, there's pretty much all the knots you need, and it's really nice step-by-step kind of freeze-frame pictures, as well as written instructions if you learn better that way.
Cool. There's also a question, what are some other examples of ways you can use these knots that we went over today?
Yeah, so clove hitch, for example. This, you see a tree that doesn't have a nice large piece of poison ivy growing on it. The clove hitch is a really great one if you want to do a clothesline. So you can tie your clove hitch, head over to another tree. I don't know if any of these trees are gonna work, but you know, go over to your other tree. You can tie another clove hitch, or you can do a couple half hitches to hook it in. As well as like your dunk bags, you could hang them up on this line. So kind of do something like that. Other questions?
I know personally for the half hitch, I use that to anchor a lot of things that I don't want ratcheted down really tight.
Yeah.
It's really good for that. And then how about the timber hitch?
Oh, the timber, let me see if I can find a good tree trunk that isn't completely decayed.
Well, the timber hitch is generally one I use to... Well, it's one I usually use to pull stuff. I think that's what Tori is going to be showing you. We're just kind of short of good logs right this second.
I guess we could just use this little guy. This is one of... Let's see. We run a... what's it called? Polar race in the winter, and this is always one of the really fun activities that the girls do, because they don't realize that they could tie this knot and then add a couple half hitches to it and then drag out a pretty big stick. So this is kind of a little guy, but we're just gonna go ahead and go around. I think we used this one time to drag a stick out of our pond personally. And then you kind of ratchet down on this side, and then you can add some half hitches to it. Like that. And you think that's about it. I'll jump on the computer in a little bit and answer any other questions that we didn't get to. But thanks for joining us. And even though we're not, we're just kind of social distancing ourselves, the outdoors is still open. So get out there and enjoy it.